As a practice owner, are you suffering from not being able to pay your bills, not being able to give your staff raises, not being able to keep staff, not being able to attract good DVMs because you don't have the money? Do you have any suppliers that aren't shipping to you because of unpaid bills? Are you unable to pay your credit cards off? If that's the case, your average client transaction is probably too low, which translates that your fees are probably too low. I want you to stay tuned. This episode is all about how to correct that. Hey guys, Dr. Joel Parker here with the Standing Ovation Practice. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. Listen, I spent 17 years in private practice and another 20 consulting private practice owners and managers just like yourselves. Listen, and what I've done here in the Standing Ovation Practice series is start to glean out what were successful actions. Okay, this week we're talking about the Key Performance Indicators series, the KPIs, and I want to focus specifically here on the average client charge. The reason why this is so important is that most practices get it so wrong. When I do practice analyses as part of the repair and diagnosis and repair of a practice, the first thing I'm looking at is what is the ideal average client transaction? And guys, 9 out of 10 practices is too low. It can be too low by 50%, in which case the practice owner can't cash their paycheck, they're losing staff because lack of raises, and they can't pay their bills. But the common practice could be anywhere from 20 to 30% too low. And you know what? It means that you're still surviving, but you're not getting up to that 20% profit where you need to be. Universally, what I find is as practice owners, we've got considerations on what we should be charging. So probably about 16 years ago now, I started to noodle and reverse engineer what were practices that were charging well and were profitable. And when you check the profit loss, we're up in that 20% profit range. And I discovered a secret formula. And then when you look at the average client charge and you compare it to what's called the median disposable income that the practice is servicing, that community, when I discovered the formula that we can start to compute what is an ideal, not too hot, not too cold, in the Goldilocks zone, the perfect average client transaction, the perfect fees, okay? So the median disposable income is that leftover money in your community that your clients have got. That's the cash in their jeans after the taxes have been taken off. It's what hits their bank accounts that they use for food, clothing, shelter, and pet care. And lo and behold, the formula that I worked out that I'm going to show you here today is one that if you times it by a factor, you can get into what should be your average client charge, your ideal one, compare that to your own, and start making some fee adjustments. So let's dive in here. Okay, so your ACT here, your average client charge, is that gross revenue divided by the number of transactions on that weekly or 6-month check on your practice information system sales report. Okay, so you take the revenue and divide it by the number of transactions. Number of transactions could also be seen on a sales report as the number of invoices. It's a closed invoice. A client comes in and buys something. They could buy a bag of dog food for $40. That's one transaction. They could pay $6,500 for a anterior cruciate ligament surgery, and then that's also one transaction. Okay, so this is why we group them all together, because there's variances in what people buy. So we take an average over the week. I even recommend you kind of do a 6-month average and see what your ACT is. Okay, now the ACT is dependent upon what your fees are. And your ideal average client transaction, here's the formula, everybody, should be 0.003 times the median disposable income for your area. Now, the MDI, you might be wondering, what is it for your area? And there is some information on the internet you can get. You can go, and it varies, all the way from $17,000 a year, believe it or not, in Billings, Montana, or all the way up to, $270,000 in Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, a place like that. So the MDI varies wildly. So you can see that there can't be one universal fee schedule across, the continent that's going to be good for everybody. You've got to custom fit it for your area. So the way you do that is you take your 6-month ACT and you look at what it is, you compare it to what your ideal ACT is, and let's say that your ideal ACT should be $200, and let's say that your existing ACT is 175. Let's say it's 150. So, let's say your existing average client transaction is 75% of the ideal, and that would then trigger across the board fee increase of 25%. That's how we do it. Okay, guys. Also, as a little aside here, the ideal exam here is 0.001 times the median disposable income. The median disposable income, again, varies by location and it varies by year. So if you want really, really up-to-date information, just send a little, question in the chat box down below, and I'll get back to you. I can access more precise files and get that for you. Okay. So average client transaction, super cool. 90% of practices are too low. 90% of practices have got considerations that they're charging too much, or they talk to the guy down the street. Listen, when you get on the phone to that practice owner down the street, guys, they're flying as blind as you are. They don't know. That's like you and I going to a foreign city and asking the person next to you that came from your town and saying, where are we? They don't know either. So this here is provable. I've worked on this solution. I've worked on this formula for years. We put it into thousands of practices and made them more profitable. The cross-check on this, which is coming up, is to look at your profit and loss statement, because usually what you'll find when you realize that you're 25, 30% too low on your fees, that'll also translate when you look at your profitability, you're down in that 8 to 12 kind of range, which is the normal practice. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed this content. If you need more on it, put some questions down below. Make sure that you hit that like button, leave a comment, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. And if you really like this content, you want to help your colleagues, then please send them over here and we'll catch up with them then. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next episode.